my billionaire grandfather, determined to ensure I'd live my entire life as a wealthy heir, spent a fortune to arrange for me to marry one of my 4 adoptive sisters. But I turned down this incredible offer without a second thought. Because in my previous life, to keep me from being lonely, my grandfather had adopted those 4 girls from an orphanage to be my sisters. They had doted on me and spoiled me since we were children, but everything changed after grandfather died. They all fell in love with a scholarship student I was sponsoring, and not only did they give him everything that was mine, they locked me in the mansion and tried to force me to apologize to him. So, after being reborn, the very first thing I did was agree to the arranged marriage with Khloe Vance, a woman from a family with a long and distinguished military history. I had just stepped out of City Hall when my grandfather called. Khloe Vance has proposed to you in private 88 times. That girl is completely devoted to you. The women of the Vance family are famous for their loyalty, so I can rest easy knowing you're marrying her. I'm getting old, and all I want is for someone to be by your side. As for the company stock you previously allocated to your 4 adoptive sisters, I've taken the liberty of revoking it all. Since they won't be your wife, it's no longer appropriate for them to have it. Listening to my grandfather's comforting words, I couldn't stop my eyes from welling up with tears. In my past life, grandfather had told me that none of the 4 girls were suitable to be my wife once they grew up, but I didn't listen. Now that I have a second chance, I will listen to him and never again suffer the tragic fate of my previous life. I suppressed my emotions, forcing a cheerful tone into my voice. Grandfather, I'll do whatever you say. You just focus on getting better at the clinic, and I'll come visit you for the holidays. After hanging up, I went home. The moment I reached my bedroom door, I saw Caleb sprawled out on my king-sized bed as if he owned it. Caleb was the ungrateful scholarship student I'd sponsored, the man my 4 adoptive sisters had become utterly infatuated with in my past life. Right now, the 4 women known as the 4 princesses of LA were fawning over him. The eldest, Amelia, the cool and composed CEO of Sterling Corp, was gently presenting a vintage pocket watch to him, trying to win his favor. The second, Maya, a gentle and poised doctor, was carefully holding a bowl of medicine, testing its temperature for him. The third, Isabella, an A-list actress with a reputation for being a flirt, was cradling him in her arms with a look of tender pity. And the fourth, Zoe, a wild and untamable race car driver, was making silly faces to make him laugh. I stared at the 4 of them, so familiar yet so alien, and the memories of those humiliating nights came rushing back with painful clarity. Who could have imagined that the 4 women I trusted and adored most would treat me like a worthless toy, plunging my life into darkness? I clenched my phone tightly, fighting back a wave of nausea, and walked straight in without knocking. The moment Caleb saw me, he flinched and buried himself deeper into Isabella's embrace, saying pitifully, "Ethan, I know this is your room, and it's not right for me to be here," but the girls insisted. They said it has the best sunlight. Caleb always played the victim to get sympathy. In my last life, I fell for it countless times just to keep my sisters from hating me. Now that I wanted nothing to do with the 4 of them, why would I put up with Caleb? I cut him off with a cold laugh. If you know it's not appropriate, then get the hell out. I'm getting married soon, and I can't have other people living in my house. I don't want my future wife to get the wrong idea. As soon as I finished, Zoe shot a glare at me. "Ethan Sterling, do you even know how to talk? If not, just shut up. I think you're the one who should get out." Maya also gave me a disapproving look. Even Amelia, who was usually so aloof and quiet, frowned. "Ethan, grandfather wants you to choose one of us to marry, but none of us are ready. Marriage isn't something to be trifled with." Isabella simply helped Caleb up to leave. "He was just borrowing your room. Can't you be a good friend and let it go for Caleb's sake? If you still want any of us to marry you, you need to lose that spoiled rich kid attitude. With a wonderful man like Caleb around, what woman would choose you over him?" In the past, hearing such harsh words from them would have sent me into a rage. But now, I just stated emotionlessly, "I never said I was going to marry any of you." Zoe pointed to a row of gifts on the bookshelf. "Ethan Sterling, who are you kidding? You've treasured every little thing we've ever given you. You say you won't marry us? Who's going to believe that?" I followed her finger to the bookshelf, which stood nearly 7 feet tall and was packed with items. Paper cranes Isabella had folded on a whim, a fountain pen Amelia had used, a glass orb from Maya, the first trophy Zoe ever won in a race. The love I once had for these things was now matched only by my hatred. I walked straight to the bookshelf and, right in front of the 3 remaining sisters, snatched the racing trophy. "Then let me show you just how determined I am not to marry you." With that, I slammed it to the ground and the trophy shattered. But I wasn't finished. I continued with a cold smirk. Amelia's fountain pen, smashed. Maya's glass orb, smashed. Isabella's jar of 1,000 paper cranes, smashed. I picked up their group photo, ready to destroy it too, but Amelia grabbed my wrist, her grip like steel. Her usually deep, indifferent eyes were now filled with disappointment. Ethan Sterling, that's enough. She took the photo from my hand. Since you're so attached to this room, you can have it back. We'll have Caleb move downstairs. I took a step back, putting some distance between us, then met their eyes with a cold stare. Grandfather bought this mansion for me. I said Caleb has to go, and if any of you have a problem with that, you can get out with him. As I spoke, I pulled out a wet wipe and cleaned the spot on my wrist where Amelia had touched me. Amelia's face instantly froze. She turned and walked away without another word. As Zoe left, she couldn't resist a parting shot, making our cool-as-a-cucumber sister speechless with anger. You're really something else. Maya shot me a cold glance before turning to leave with her medical bag, saying nothing. But they didn't understand. I wasn't trying to make them angry. I was genuinely disgusted. The mere thought of my past life made me want to throw up. After retching in the bathroom for a while, I called the staff and had them replace everything in the room. I retreated to a room on the top floor to rest and didn't come down all night. The next morning, I took my laptop to the rooftop garden for some fresh air. I had just sat down when I got a call from my bespoke tailor. Mr. Sterling, your custom suit is ready. I opened the email and saw a picture of the finished product. I had designed this same suit in my previous life, but in the end, Caleb was the one who wore it. As I was lost in thought, Zoe suddenly approached with Maya and Isabella trailing behind her. All three of them saw the suit on my laptop screen. Zoe, ever the sharpest tongue, started mocking me immediately. So that whole tantrum and smashing things was just you playing hard to get. You've already had the wedding suit designed. Clearly, you're just waiting to marry one of us. I hadn't expected to see them. At this hour, they were usually with Caleb, helping him get some sun. What a pain. I closed my laptop and looked at the three of them. You're reading too much into it, I said flatly. Feel free to go take care of Caleb. I've already agreed to the marriage alliance with the Vance family. I won't be competing with him for any of you. Hearing this, Isabella's expression shifted, her usual carefree demeanor vanishing. The Vances are a powerful military family. They could crush a dozen billionaires without breaking a sweat. You don't joke about things like that with them. Don't talk recklessly, or Amelia will be the one cleaning up your mess. Maya, who had been silent until now, adjusted her glasses and stepped forward, taking my hand. You've made your point. Now go downstairs and apologize to Caleb, and we can all go back to being a happy family. But I slapped her hand away, my face pale as I backed away. Of the four of them, her touch was the one I couldn't bear. How ironic. I once went to the trouble of having the freshest milk flown in from New Zealand for her to soak her hands in, all to protect her precious surgeon's hands. But it was those very hands that had taken my kidney and, ultimately, my life. Even now, I can't forget that sickening pain. Believe what you want, I said. I left them with that and went back to my room, not emerging again. That evening, a staff member brought me a package. Inside was an antique silver ring with an intricate, intertwined design. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Khloe, my fiancée. She explained it was a Vance family heirloom, passed down only to the men who marry into the family. To show my sincerity, I immediately put it on my ring finger and sent her a picture. What do you think? Look good. I had just sent the voice message when Isabella's lazy voice drifted from the doorway. What looks so good? Before I could turn, she wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. With a sudden pull, we both fell onto the nearby sofa. Above me, she was wearing a loose silk robe, the fabric gaping slightly to reveal the curve of her chest beneath her collarbone. Her breath reeked of alcohol. Her beautiful, almond-shaped eyes were bloodshot at the corners, and though her exquisite face was smiling, her gaze was utterly cold. Whose ring is this? Take it off. Your ring finger is for a wedding band. You can't wear some random piece of junk on it just because you're in a mood. Her face was cold, her eyes burning with that possessiveness I remembered all too well from my last life. Every time she looked at me that way, she would demand, "Have you been with the other three?" A wave of disgust churned in my stomach. My eyes stinging, I swung my hand and slapped her across the face. "Isabella, are you out of your drunken mind? I'm Ethan, not Caleb." But in the next instant, she pinned my hands down and leaned in, kissing me fiercely. Suddenly, a shout came from the doorway. It was Caleb. I looked up to see his face contorted with jealousy. and behind him, my other 3 sisters looking murderous. I seized the chance to shove Isabella off me. She didn't even spare me a glance, scrambling to her feet and rushing toward Caleb. "Caleb, listen to me." Before she could finish, he clutched his chest dramatically and collapsed. Maya was there in an instant to catch him, helping him away as an anxious Isabella followed. I sat up from the sofa, my expression cold. Zoe stormed over, yelling in my face, "Ethan Sterling, you knew Caleb has feelings for Isabella. How could you deliberately seduce her and kiss her in front of him? Are you that disgusting?" Disgusting? Of course I was disgusted, but I was disgusted by them. I suppressed my rage, fixing my gaze on Amelia and Zoe, who hadn't left yet. "Are you both blind? Didn't you see me pushing her away? This is my room. You all just barge in without asking. Who's the shameless one here?" Without waiting for a response, I shoved them out and slammed the door. I rubbed my temples, trying to calm down. Then I pulled out my phone and called a real estate agent to list the mansion. After Khloe and I get married, I'll be living with her family, so I'll hardly ever be back here. If those 4 want to live with Caleb, they can do it somewhere else, not in my house where they can disgust me. For the next few days, none of the 4 sisters bothered me. In the past, all it would have taken was 1 day of the silent treatment, and I would have come crawling back, apologizing just to keep the peace. I'd endured so many of their hurtful words for the sake of that. An apology needs to sound like one. If you don't know what you did wrong, just give Caleb whatever he wants. If you keep acting so arrogant, we'd rather stay single forever than marry you. Now, I just think about how stupid I used to be. They didn't want me, but plenty of other people did. I was glad for the peace and quiet, but the peace only lasted a few days before my phone started blowing up with messages from Caleb. "Ethan Sterling, so what if you're the rich heir? They still revolve around me. They'll always stand by my side and have my back, no matter what. I can take them from you whenever I want." Another notification pinged. He had sent a photo. It was Caleb, sitting in a pile of gifts, grinning from ear to ear. And the gifts, the trophy, the glass orb, were all identical replicas of the ones I had destroyed. I numbly locked my phone and went back to submitting my final design project. I was a design major in college, and my senior thesis project was the very suit I had commissioned from the tailor. A week later, at the graduation gala for the Los Angeles Institute of Design, I made an appearance. As soon as I entered the ballroom, I saw Caleb, surrounded by my 4 sisters, the center of their universe. Amelia's eyes were soft. "This bespoke suit is the designer's latest creation. It's one of a kind, and it looks perfect on Caleb." Maya smiled gently. "Caleb, you're the prince of the ball tonight. I wonder, may I have the first dance?" Isabella lightly kissed his hand, her eyebrow arched playfully. "Caleb, I'd like you to be the leading man in my next film." Not to be outdone, Zoe chimed in, "Caleb, I won a race yesterday. The prize was this ruby ring worth a fortune. Let me put it on for you." The 4 women everyone in Los Angeles now fawned over, the so-called 4 princesses of LA. Amelia Sterling, a top-tier financier, Maya Sterling, a world-renowned surgeon, Isabella Sterling, an Oscar-winning actress, and Zoe Sterling, a world-class professional race car driver, were all competing to flatter Caleb. And I, the one they used to cherish, was now the butt of every joke. The 4 princesses used to be all over Ethan Sterling. He even claimed one of them would marry him. What a joke. If you ask me, Caleb is the real prince. He'll definitely marry one of them. Caleb is so generous and kind, while Ethan is just arrogant and spoiled. If I were them, I'd protect Caleb even if he did something wrong. I ignored the taunts. For security reasons, I'd never told anyone I was the grandson of LA's biggest tycoon. Besides Caleb, everyone at school assumed I was on scholarship just like him, and that everything I had was thanks to my sister's generosity. The truth was, grandfather had chosen them from an orphanage. The Sterling family had treated them like their own, and had invested a fortune into making them who they were today. Wasn't it only natural that they should be good to me? There was no point in explaining now. In my last life, it was at this very gala that I brought a bottle of wine for my sisters. But the wine was drugged, and the 5 of us were trapped in a haze of depravity for a full day and night. That day was the beginning of my miserable end. This time, I planned to just get through the evening quietly and not touch a single bite of food or drink. But of course, after soaking up enough envious stares, Caleb made his way over to me. He offered me a glass of wine with a smile. "Ethan, don't listen to them. I know your sisters care about you the most. Happy graduation." I didn't take it, stepping back instead. "I don't drink." With that, I pushed past him and headed for the lounge. I heard Zoe's angry voice behind me. "So ungrateful. I ignored her, but just a few minutes after I entered the lounge, a familiar, sickening heat began to spread from the pit of my stomach. My heart sank. I would recognize this feeling even in death. In my past life, my sisters had often used drugs on me to make me more compliant. Once the drug took hold, I would lose all sense of shame. I hadn't touched anything tonight. How could this be happening? I fumbled for my phone, my hand shaking as I dialed 911. Just as I finished explaining the situation to the operator, the door to the lounge was kicked open. I looked up, and just like in my past life, my 4 sisters were walking toward me. I scrambled backward in terror, my legs trembling. "Who told you to come here? Get out." Zoe stepped forward, annoyed. "Weren't you the one who messaged us to come?" The other 3 advanced on me as well. "I didn't. Stay away from me." I was backed into a corner, trembling. In a daze, I could almost see them again, just like in my past life, taking turns with me. "Don't come any closer, please." The drug was taking hold, my face flushed and hot. In the dim light, my face was flushed, my lips pressed tight, the corners of my eyes red, creating an unintentionally seductive look. The look in all 4 of their eyes darkened, and none of them backed away. They closed in, surrounding me. Isabella crouched down, grabbing a handful of my hair and sniffing it playfully. "Didn't you ask us to come? Now that we're here, why are you playing so hard to get?" They exchanged a look, and the intense possessiveness in their eyes mirrored the horror of my past life. I tried desperately to escape, but my body wouldn't listen. Why? I was so close to escaping the fate of my last life. Their fingers touched my waist, and just as I gave in to despair, the door burst open. In my peripheral vision, I saw police officers rushing toward me. 10 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet, faster, please, faster. The moment an officer helped me to my feet, I finally let go and passed out. I was saved. I would never, ever let myself end up like that again. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed, surrounded by my 4 sisters. Amelia handed me a glass of water, her voice uncharacteristically gentle. "You're awake. That's good. Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Here, drink some water." I was a little dazed. It had been so long since I'd felt any concern from her. The other 3 exchanged glances and nodded. "As long as you're okay." Whether their concern was genuine or just for show, I couldn't be bothered to figure it out. I took a sip of water, and then Amelia spoke. "Since you're fine now, you should go ahead and drop the police report. I know you'll do the sensible thing." Maya quickly added, "The police found out Caleb was the one who lit that aphrodisiac incense in the lounge, but he was framed. I'm sure of it. He would never try to hurt you." The other 2 joined in, urging me to let Caleb off the hook, terrified he might face any consequences. I gripped the cup, my knuckles white with suppressed rage. In this life, I didn't drink anything, yet the aphrodisiac was there. Did that mean the wine in my last life, was that also Caleb's doing? Caleb was the source of all my suffering, in both lifetimes. The thought made me tremble with fury. I squeezed the words out through gritted teeth. "I am never dropping the charges." Seeing my resolve, all 4 of them left in a huff and didn't visit me in the hospital again. I spent 3 days recovering in the hospital, taking care of myself and eating standard hospital food. One morning, just as I was about to eat a spoonful of oatmeal, my hospital room door swung open. Caleb strolled in, a smug grin on his face. "Ethan Sterling, surprised to see me? So what if you know I was the one who drugged you? With your 4 precious sisters protecting me, I'm completely fine." I had planned to ignore him, but then he tugged at his collar, and I saw it, the intertwined silver ring on his finger. My expression hardened. I glanced down at my own hand. My ring finger was bare. A hot rage flared inside me. I got out of bed and confronted him. "Who told you you could wear that ring? Take it off." Not only did he refuse, he held up his hand proudly. "I just mentioned I liked it, and Maya took it right off your finger and gave it to me." I didn't want to hear another word. I lunged for it, but before I could even touch him, he threw himself to the floor. A second later, Zoe burst in, shoved me aside, and rushed to protect Caleb, completely ignoring the fact that I had stumbled and hit my head. Caleb, who had been so arrogant moments before, was now cowering in Zoe's arms. "I'm sorry, Ethan. Maya gave me the ring. I just thought it was pretty and wanted to wear it for a bit. I didn't mean to take it from you. Please don't hit me. I'm scared." Zoe immediately snatched the ring off his finger and threw it at me. "You'd hurt Caleb over a stupid piece of metal? How could you be so cruel?" I ignored her, quickly retrieving the ring and carefully wiping it clean. Maya, who had just returned, had lost her usual gentle smile. "It's just a dirty-looking ring. Is it really that important? You're making a scene over this and not even thinking about your recovery? Come here, let me treat that cut. I looked up at the three of them and screamed, "Get out! All of you, get out!" Furious at my outburst, Zoe stormed out, taking a secretly pleased Caleb with her. Maya didn't spare me another glance before leaving, her face a cold mask. After they were gone, I closed the door, my face devoid of any sadness. Only people you care about can hurt you, and in this life I couldn't wait to be free of them. After one more night, I was discharged from the hospital. But on my way out, people were pointing and whispering. I had a bad feeling and immediately checked my phone. My name was trending on Twitter. LA Design Institute's Ethan Sterling plagiarizes best friend Caleb's senior project. This same plagiarism scandal had happened in my past life. Back then, I was already a prisoner in the mansion, and they had used my social media accounts to post a full confession and apology. My reputation in all of LA was destroyed. I took a deep breath and clicked on the trending topic. Just like last time, my four sisters were unconditionally defending Caleb. I clicked through the 3 viral videos that were circulating. In the first, at the Sterling Corp headquarters, Amelia was speaking to a news crew, her tone serious. Caleb is an exceptional talent that Sterling Corp is proud to support. In the second, at a press conference for her new movie, Isabella had brought Caleb on stage. Maya was with them, and the two sisters stood on either side of him, holding his hands as Isabella announced, "I will always believe in Caleb's kindness and integrity." In the third, at a racetrack, Zoe's race car was emblazoned with the words, "Team Caleb," across the hood. With the 4 princesses of LA's wealthiest family all backing him, public opinion was completely one-sided. I was a pariah, some design school heartthrob. He's just a vain wannabe. Ethan Sterling must have ripped off Caleb for the prize money. No wonder the 4 princesses aren't interested in him anymore. He's all style and no substance, not like Caleb, who's a real talent. I stared at the screen. In my past life, they forced me to confess my reputation was ruined, I was blacklisted from the industry, and I never recovered. But in this life, I was prepared. I immediately went back to the mansion, found my original sketches, and posted a clarification on Twitter. I published the complete design drafts, my creative process, and a detailed explanation of every source of inspiration. I ended the post with a single powerful sentence: "I, Ethan Sterling, do not plagiarize." The tweet immediately started gaining traction, but 3 minutes later, it was gone. The post had been deleted. A moment later, my phone rang. It was Amelia. "Ethan, this plagiarism issue ends now. Caleb's health is fragile. I don't want him to be upset." Her voice was casual, as if this were some trivial matter. The nails of my clenched fist dug into my palm. "So you were the one who had my tweet deleted?" Her voice was perfectly calm, and removed from the trending topics. Before she could continue, I cut her off, my voice shaking with rage. "What right do you have to do that? What right do you have to bury this? Caleb was the one who plagiarized my work, so why am I the one who has to suffer the consequences?" She replied coolly, "You don't need the prize money. The internet will find something new to be outraged about tomorrow. Don't worry, this will all blow over soon." Her shamelessness was so astounding I had to laugh. Was this about money? How was a designer branded a plagiarist supposed to build a career in this industry? But her tone was final. "You're a Sterling. You could never work a day in your life and still be set for life. If Caleb gets a reputation for plagiarism, he'll be blacklisted. A kid from his background won't be able to survive that. This is how it's going to be. Don't bring it up again." With that, she hung up. I was so furious my chest ached. In 2 lifetimes, they had betrayed me without a moment's hesitation. I was utterly disappointed. I remembered that after I'd agreed to the marriage, Grandfather had my official Twitter account verified as the heir to the Sterling fortune. I immediately logged into that verified account and posted a new tweet. It instantly shot to the top of the trending list. "I, Ethan Sterling, am the sole heir to the Sterling family fortune, the largest in Los Angeles. I have no need to plagiarize for money." That one sentence caused an uproar. Using that account, I reposted my original design sketches and included screenshots of my official correspondence with the bespoke design house from 3 months prior. They were one of the most respected design houses in the world. They would never help someone fake a commission. The topic skyrocketed to #1, and Caleb was crucified online. Users flooded Caleb's Twitter mentions with insults. "This is disgusting. What kind of manipulative games did you play to get the 4 princesses to turn on their own brother and defend you? Maybe he slept with all 4 of them, became their personal boy toy. I've got money, can I get a turn?" With an officially verified account backed by my grandfather, no one could suppress this story. Less than half an hour after I posted, all 4 sisters, who hadn't been home in ages, showed up at the mansion. Isabella stepped forward, her voice soft and coaxing, just like when we were kids. "Ethan, you've made your point. You can delete the tweet now." She reached out to smooth my hair, but I shoved her hand away. I looked at the 4 of them, so successful now. They had probably long forgotten how they'd gotten where they were. I didn't mind reminding them. I smirked. "So now you remember I exist? When I was being branded a plagiarist, what were you all doing? Every single one of you was defending Caleb. You seem to have forgotten that the reason grandfather invested in you was so you would protect me. But not only did you fail to protect me, you repeatedly hurt me for the sake of an outsider. Do you really think I'm going to delete that tweet?" Hearing me use grandfather's name against them, all 4 of their expressions soured. Zoe, always the most impulsive, snapped, "You're just jealous of Caleb. You're afraid he's going to take us away from you, aren't you? Fine, we'll marry you. Is that what you want?" I sneered at her condescending offer. "No thanks. I no longer have any desire to marry any of you." They clearly hadn't expected me to refuse so bluntly. Their faces grew even darker, angry that even after they had deigned to compromise, I was still acting so arrogant and unforgiving. Isabella rubbed her temples. "Be good, Ethan. I know you want to marry one of us. Just pick one of us now. Whoever you choose will say yes, as long as you delete the tweet." Amelia stepped up beside her, her voice soft. "Just delete the tweet, and we can have the wedding next week." I refused coldly. "No need. I already have a wife. Her name is Khloe Vance. She's in love with me. She's proposed to me 88 times. Before, I had always assumed I would marry one of them, so I never mentioned Khloe's feelings." Now, the 4 of them exchanged a look of pure disbelief. Zoe scoffed. "Khloe Vance is from a famous military family. They're all about discipline and tradition. I'm not trying to put you down, but they'd want a respectable gentleman, not a spoiled, petulant brat like you. If you really can't decide, all 4 of us could marry you." I glanced at the others and saw that they all silently agreed with her. I couldn't believe they were willing to stoop this low just to save Caleb's reputation. I had been reborn and used the same design from my past life not to forgive Caleb, but to give him a taste of his own medicine. Just as I was about to refuse again, Caleb burst into the room and threw himself at my feet, bowing his head to the floor. "Ethan, I swear I didn't know it was your senior project. I just happened to see the sketches on Zoe's computer and got inspired. I was just borrowing some ideas. Please, forgive me just this once. I came from nothing, from a poor town in the mountains. Took everything I had to get here. If my reputation is ruined, my life is over. I have no family left. If I have to go back home, my father will force me to marry some 70-year-old widow." The 4 sisters watched him groveling, their hearts aching with pity. I, however, watched him with cold indifference. Zoe was the first to break. She went to help Caleb up, shot me a glare and said, "Don't beg him, don't worry. If your reputation is ruined, I'll support you for the rest of your life." I paid her words no mind. Amelia looked at me coldly. "You've really been spoiled rotten." I sneered back. "I'm the grandson of a billionaire and the sole heir to the sterling fortune. It's only natural for me to be a little arrogant. Do you dislike it so much because Caleb's status as an orphan makes you feel sorry for him?" The word orphan struck a nerve. All 4 of them had been adopted from an orphanage. Amelia's usually placid face turned ashen with rage. She shot me a cold look and stormed out. Maya shook her head. "You've disappointed me so much." Isabella's usual flirtatious smile vanished. "I don't even recognize you anymore," she said coldly. As they left, one by one, I watched their retreating backs and gave a self-deprecating laugh. After the miserable life I'd lived, wasn't I the one who should be disappointed? And now, just because I spoke a few words of truth, they act like this. It's pathetic. I didn't want to think about them anymore. My wedding to Khloe was fast approaching, and I needed to pick out a gift for her. A necklace, a ring, earrings, or maybe a brooch. I spent the entire day browsing different luxury brands before I finally found the perfect one. Just as I was about to pay, I received a taunting message from Caleb. "Ethan Sterling, so what if you didn't delete the tweet? To make it up to me, all 4 of them are going to marry me on New Year's Eve." He followed it with a picture of a wedding invitation. One groom for brides. I opened Facebook and sure enough, Caleb had posted the invitation there as well. I smirked, liked the post, and commented, "Congrats. Hope you 2 or 5 are very happy together." I was about to lock my phone when it rang. It was Zoe. Her voice was triumphant, as if she'd been waiting for my call. "Ethan Sterling, have you realized your mistake yet? Just apologize to Caleb, and we'll call off the wedding." I laughed coldly. "I did nothing wrong. Why should I apologize? Since you all prefer Caleb and can't stand this arrogant, spoiled heir, then I won't force myself to be a part of your world anymore." As soon as I said it, I could hear the angry voices of the other 3 sisters in the background. Before Zoe hung up in a rage, she spat out, "You'd better not regret this." I wouldn't. I had finally escaped the tragic fate of my last life. I couldn't wait to be as far away from them as possible. I turned off my phone and slept soundly. The next day, I was woken by my phone ringing. It was grandfather. "Ethan, I saw everything that happened online. I can't believe that after all these years, I raised for ungrateful wretches. I'm giving the order right now to revoke all of their privileges." I could feel his rage even through the phone. I was worried the anger would affect his health, so I quickly tried to calm him. "Grandfather, please don't be angry. I don't care about them anymore. Besides, I have Khloe now. Like you said, she'll be with me from now on." That seemed to calm him. "Your wedding with Khloe is set for a week from now, on New Year's Eve. Use this time to get ready." "Okay." After hanging up, I got a message from the real estate agent. "Mr. Sterling, the house sold for a great price. The buyer will be taking possession on New Year's Eve." A small smile played on my lips as I got out of bed. This way, after I was gone, the 5 of them could no longer disgust me in my own home. I went downstairs and told the staff to gather everything that had anything to do with my 4 sisters. Then I took it all out to the yard and burned it. I even had them bring in an excavator to dig up the magnolia trees in the yard. The 4 of them had planted those trees on their first day at our home, when I was 10. They had witnessed so many years of our lives together, but now they were just an eyesore. I wanted them gone, roots and all, just like I wanted to rip those 4 women out of my heart. When it was all done, the mansion felt empty, but clean. I was about to take a break when I heard Zoe's voice from the entrance. "Where are the magnolia trees? Why are they gone?" I turned to see her walking toward me. Her eyes scanned me, and I expected an outburst. Instead, she said, almost to herself, "It's fine. Caleb doesn't like magnolias anyway. We can plant lilies instead. He likes lilies." I smirked. "You and Caleb are a family now. You can plant whatever you want." She seemed taken aback by my response, her expression complicated. Then she added, a bit awkwardly, "You should have just said so from the beginning." Just then, my phone rang. It was the wedding planner Khloe had hired. "Mr. Sterling, I've just emailed you the final details for the venue and schedule for next week's wedding. Please let me know if you'd like any changes." I didn't even open the email. "Whatever you've arranged is fine," I replied. "I trust your judgment." My voice was loud enough for Zoe to overhear. She let out a derisive laugh. "Don't tell me you found out we're marrying Caleb next week and decided to stage your own wedding, just so you can play the part of the jilted groom crashing the ceremony. Ethan Sterling, you made a mistake, and now you have to face the consequences. It's too late for regrets. We promised Caleb a wedding he'll never forget, and none of us are going to let you ruin it." I gave her a perfectly calm look and smiled. "I know you all love Caleb. Don't worry, I have no intention of crashing your wedding. I'm not going to marry any of you. I have my own bride." But she clearly didn't believe me. She pulled out her phone and started a video call with the others. "You guys are not going to believe this. Ethan is staging his own wedding next week, on the same day as ours, just to try and steal us away from Caleb." She then aimed the camera at me, forcing me into their video chat. The other 3 had apparently dropped everything to be by Caleb's side. Amelia glanced at me, her brow furrowed. "We've made our decision. We're not changing our minds." The warmth in Maya's eyes vanished. "Don't waste your time." Isabella turned to coo at Caleb. "Don't you worry, Caleb. We won't let him take us away." Every word was a carefully aimed dart, meant to wound me, but I just kept smiling. "You can all relax. I have my own wedding to attend. I have no intention of crashing yours." With that, I ended the call. I couldn't stand the sight of their faces. Zoe put her phone away. Seeing that I was immune to her persuasion, she didn't linger, but gave me one last warning look. "Caleb likes this house. He'll be leaving for the wedding from here. Don't make a scene." I didn't respond. The wedding was the same day the house was being handed over to its new owner. She could take it up with them. In the blink of an eye, it was New Year's Eve, the day of both my wedding and theirs. I came downstairs in the morning with my luggage and ran right into Caleb, dressed in a bespoke suit. The perfect cut, the diamond-studded buttons, the elegant, high-end fabric. It was the exact suit from my senior project. He glanced at my simple shirt and slacks and smirked. Don't you have a wedding today, too? Where's your designer suit? Don't tell me you think this little running away from home act is going to convince them to leave me for you. Let me tell you, it's not going to happen. This wedding is being live-streamed, and I'm going to be the most handsome groom they could ever ask for. I couldn't be bothered to engage with him. Then I wish you all the best, I said coolly. I hope the 5 of you are very happy together for the rest of your lives. Just stay out of mine. I walked out to the driveway with my suitcase and looked up to see my 4 sisters, all in wedding gowns. Amelia wore a simple, elegant white mermaid gown that suited her cool beauty. Maya was in a pink, full-skirted ball gown, her hair styled like a princess, the picture of gentle elegance. Isabella's satin gown was stunning, with a plunging neckline that barely contained her ample curves. Zoe wore a custom gown with a dramatic, flowing skirt that perfectly captured her wild spirit. Seeing me with my suitcase, all 4 of them froze. They exchanged a panicked look and asked in unison, "Where are you going?" Isabella reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "To my wedding," I said calmly. Hearing this, the 4 of them, who had looked so worried a moment before, seemed to relax. Their relaxed posture made it clear they thought I was just playing hard to get. Amelia stepped forward, her expression serious. "As long as you promise to stop targeting Caleb and learn to get along with him, we will honor grandfather's promise. We will marry you," the others chimed in. "As long as you can accept Caleb, we can all be a happy family. It's New Year's Eve. If you're truly sorry, you can stay home and prepare a nice dinner for us. After our wedding, we can all celebrate the new year together." I just smiled. I've already made myself clear. I'm getting married today, too. From this day forward, my New Year's will have nothing to do with any of you. With that, I ignored their thunderous expressions and walked out onto the large lawn in front of the mansion. Seeing that they couldn't persuade me, they gave up and turned their attention back to Caleb, lovingly helping him into the waiting limousine. Just then, a deafening roar filled the air from above. Dozens of helicopters, each marked with the Vance family crest, began to land on the lawn. As everyone watched in stunned silence, 2 squads of soldiers in full dress uniform disembarked, formed ranks in front of me, saluted and declared in unison, "By order of Ms. Khloe Vance, we are here to escort the groom, Mr. Ethan Sterling, to the wedding." The sight of dozens of military helicopters and uniformed soldiers left everyone speechless. As my helicopter ascended, I could see the visible panic on the faces of the 4 women below. Just as they were about to run after me, Caleb stepped in front of them, his voice dripping with his usual feigned pity. "Amelia, Maya, Isabella, Zoe, I can't believe Ethan would go this far just to try and steal you away from me. I've never heard of a wedding where the bride doesn't even show up. He must have paid a fortune to hire these actors." The sisters, who had been about to give chase, hesitated. His words gave them pause, though a seed of doubt remained. After all, no one would dare to make a joke involving the Vance family. Caleb pressed on. "Even a nobody like me knows you don't mess with the Vances. Ethan is deliberately putting on this show. When he inevitably offends the Vance family, he'll have the sterling fortune to protect him. But what about me? He just wants to ruin our wedding and make me the laughingstock of LA. Then, all alone, I'll have no way to survive here. He wants to destroy me." Hearing this, any remaining doubt in their minds vanished. They all frowned. Zoe adjusted her gown, her voice laced with anger. "We were almost fooled by him. How could he be so malicious?" Seeing that he had won them over, Caleb looked down, his expression crestfallen. "I have nothing in this world but you 4. Unlike Ethan, he's a sterling heir. He'll always be taken care of, free to do whatever he wants without consequence. But every step for me is a struggle. If I lose you, I don't know how I'll be able to go on." Instantly, his face contorted in a mask of pain. Seeing him like this, the 4 sisters' hearts went out to him, and they all rushed to comfort him. Isabella threw her arms around him. "Don't worry, we'll never leave you. Don't be sad. You won't look good in the pictures." Maya pulled out a silk handkerchief and gently wiped his tears. "We promised you an unforgettable wedding, and we won't go back on our word." Zoe quickly agreed. "That's right. Today is our wedding day. You're the most handsome groom, and you're our treasure. We love you more than anything. How could we ever leave you?" "Right, Amelia." Even Amelia, usually so serious and composed, nodded in reassurance. "Don't worry, we won't abandon our handsome groom. The wedding will proceed as planned." The 4 of them helped Caleb into the limousine, cooing and fawning over him. Caleb finally managed to smile, though his voice was still tinged with sadness. "I'm so lucky to have you all." Seeing him smile, the four sisters finally relaxed. Zoe quickly replied, "Of course. Today, you're going to be the most envied man in all of Los Angeles." The four princesses of LA marrying one man was certainly a spectacle, especially since the groom had just been at the center of a plagiarism scandal. The wedding drew a huge online audience, and the live stream chat was scrolling nonstop. "I've got to hand it to this scholarship kid. He's got some serious game to have these four women wrapped around his finger. So if Ethan Sterling is the heir, then who are these four princesses really? Whatever they are, they're blind. To pass up a guy like Ethan Sterling for this plagiarizing nobody." Caleb, in the car, had expected to see a flood of envious comments, but 9 out of 10 messages in the chat were insulting him. His face fell. Isabella, sitting beside him, noticed immediately. She covered his eyes with her hand. "Don't look at that. Just focus on being the happiest groom in the world today." Amelia simply raised her hand, signaling for the staff to cut the live stream. But just as they were about to turn off the large screen in the car, a new comment caught their eye. "I don't think that was an act. Those were Vance family helicopters, and those were real soldiers in dress uniform. There's no way they were actors." Isabella's face fell as she remembered the shocking scene from earlier. "By order of Ms. Khloe Vance, we are here to escort the groom, Mr. Sterling, to the wedding." She exchanged a look with the other three. It was clear they had all seen the comment. They had claimed not to believe me, but an uncontrollable panic was beginning to set in. For a moment, the car was silent. Lately, I had grown so distant from them. In the past, if I had made them angry, I would have immediately apologized and done anything to get back in their good graces. I would have swallowed my pride, shed my spoiled attitude, all just to get them to talk to me again. But for the past month, I had been acting completely out of character. I hadn't apologized. I hadn't even tried to contact them. The more Zoe thought about it, the more uneasy she became. "Amelia," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "you don't think those helicopters were actually—" Before she could finish, Caleb interrupted. Isabella still had her hand over his eyes, so he hadn't seen the comment. "What about the helicopters?" he asked, confused. Zoe quickly waved it away. "Nothing. Caleb, you had an early start today. Just rest in the car for a bit. It's going to be a busy day." Caleb could tell from her expression that she was hiding something. But no matter what, today's wedding had to happen. He couldn't let them go looking for me. He spoke, his voice hesitant. "Actually, I overheard Ethan on the phone with his grandfather last night. His grandfather arranged the helicopters for him. He threatened me not to tell you, said he'd kick me out of the mansion if I did." Zoe was the first to react. "I knew it. The Vances are a serious military family. They would never go along with his games. It must have been his grandfather. He's as arrogant and spoiled as ever, pulling all these stunts just to try and make us abandon Caleb and run back to him. Don't worry, Caleb. We are not going to let him win. We'll only consider taking him back when he apologizes to you." The others also accepted this explanation, and their panic subsided. For the rest of the ride, they doted on Caleb. Meanwhile, at the grand ballroom of the Pinnacle Estates, a massive crystal fountain flowed in the center of the room, its gentle splashing a perfect accompaniment to the symphony playing softly in the background. A red carpet stretched from the entrance deep into the ballroom, flanked on both sides by a sea of vibrant flowers that looked like something out of a fairy tale. My helicopter landed right in the center of the red carpet, and I felt a strange knot of nervousness in my stomach. In the past, when my world revolved around my four sisters, I had never paid much attention to Khloe's private declarations of love. But seeing her this time, I felt a strange sense of nervous anticipation, like coming home after a long time away. In the years I hadn't seen her, I'd often heard the elders in my family speak of her. She was the most accomplished of her generation, and even my grandfather was full of praise for her whenever he mentioned her name. I took out the brooch I had chosen for her, checked my appearance one last time in a small mirror, and then, satisfied, I stepped out of the helicopter. 2 hours later, my sisters and Caleb arrived at the Pinnacle Estates. The fleet of helicopters was still parked on the grounds, impossible to miss. As they got out of their car, they saw me immediately. Zoe's lips twisted into a sneer. "I knew it. He's here to ruin our wedding." The other three also seemed convinced that my presence here was a calculated move. They thought my talk of marrying someone else was just a bluff, a desperate attempt to make them jealous and call off their wedding to Caleb. Caleb nervously straightened his suit jacket. "Amelia, Maya, Isabella, Zoe, is he going to try and stop the wedding? What if he tries to ruin everything? I don't know what he's capable of. I'm so afraid he's going to keep me from marrying you." Hearing this, the sisters' expressions hardened. Zoe spoke first. "Don't worry, Caleb. We would marry you today even if the sky were falling. Isabella, who had been quiet, added softly, we promised you an unforgettable wedding, and we will keep that promise, no matter what. She playfully tapped his nose and winked. How could we ever disappoint our handsome groom? Amelia, ever the calm one, stated simply, don't worry, everything is arranged. I'll have security keep an eye on him. There won't be any incidents. Their reassurances seemed to calm Caleb's nerves. He couldn't suppress a flicker of triumph. Their wedding was in the premium ballroom, right next to the grand ballroom where mine was being held. Both rooms were luxurious, but the premium ballroom paled in comparison to the grand one. The premium ballroom, for instance, didn't have a diamond fountain in the center. Caleb's eyes darkened. Why shouldn't his wedding be in the best ballroom? He tugged on Isabella's sleeve. Isabella, that fountain is so beautiful. Can't we have our wedding in that ballroom? Isabella was also confused. Amelia had been in charge of the arrangements, and she always insisted on the best. Why hadn't she booked the grand ballroom? Amelia, Caleb wants to move to the grand ballroom. Can you see what you can do? Amelia frowned. When I made the booking, the manager told me the grand ballroom wasn't available for private events. Zoe, ever impatient, grabbed a nearby staff member. Can you move us to the grand ballroom? We'll pay whatever it costs. The staff member, startled, quickly composed himself. I'm very sorry, miss, but I can't do that. The grand ballroom is not available for public booking. Zoe glanced at the helicopters parked outside and assumed I had booked the room. She scoffed. Don't give me that not available line. Someone's clearly using it right now. Go tell your boss we'll pay 10 times the price. We're having our wedding in that ballroom. Without waiting for a reply, she grabbed Caleb and marched toward the entrance of the grand ballroom. But as she tried to enter, a security guard blocked her path. I'm sorry, miss. You can't enter without an invitation. Zoe was furious. Do you have any idea who I am? One phone call from me, and the people in there will be begging me to come in. Just then, I emerged from the dressing room. This is my wedding, I said. It's not open to just any riffraff. I had been escorted to the dressing room right after I landed. I was now dressed in my bespoke suit, every button perfectly fastened, every crease sharp. I felt like a prince from a bygone era. The moment Zoe saw me, her anger seemed to evaporate, replaced by a dark, smoldering look in her eyes. The other three who had followed her also stopped in their tracks when they saw me. They stared at me, their eyes intense, their deep gazes filled with an undisguised, burning desire. Isabella stepped forward, as if to grab me, but a security guard blocked her way. She stared at me, her throat working, her voice a seductive purr. Ethan, stop this childish game. We're just having a ceremony with Caleb. We're not getting legally married. Let Caleb have this ballroom today, and we'll forget all about the Twitter incident. Maya stepped forward as well, her eyes softer than I'd seen them in a long time. That's right. Just let Caleb have the ballroom, and we can pretend none of this ever happened. We can go back to being a family. Even in Amelia's usually cold eyes, a flicker of desire I'd never seen before was stirring, a flicker she herself seemed unaware of. Her voice was slightly husky when she spoke. You've made your point. Now be good and go home. We'll come back to you after the ceremony with Caleb is over. I looked at them, a sarcastic smile touching my lips. Even now, they still hadn't taken me seriously. They still thought I was just throwing a tantrum, but I no longer cared. I spoke calmly. As I said, I'm here for my wedding. This is my venue. Why on earth would I give it up? As soon as I finished, Caleb piped up, his eyes wide with feigned confusion. Ethan, you say you're getting married, but I don't see a bride. Can you get married all by yourself? Are you still planning on crashing our wedding? I was sick of his act. I told you, I have my own bride, I snapped. The 5 of you can do whatever you want, just stay away from me. I don't want my wife to get the wrong idea. Caleb looked around dramatically. Ethan, you keep talking about this wife of yours, but where is she? My sisters also glanced around. There was indeed no bride in sight. This only confirmed their suspicion that I was just trying to cause trouble. Amelia glanced at her watch, her tone growing stern. Ethan, stop this nonsense. Our ceremony with Caleb is about to begin. Give us this ballroom, and I'll have someone drive you home. Hearing that time was running out, even Maya's gentle tone became strained. This little game of yours is getting old, Ethan. I shot back. Who's playing games? I told you, I have a wife. Her name is Khloe Vance. With that, I turned to the security guards. None of these 5 are to be allowed in this ballroom today. Escort them out. The guards immediately moved to comply. Yes, sir. Zoe was livid. A family like the Fiancées would never be interested in someone like you. Now stop holding up our wedding and go home. Just as she finished, a cold, clear voice came from behind her. I think you're the ones who should be leaving. Khloe Vance stepped out of a car, her long legs carrying her forward with purpose. She was stunning, with cool, intelligent eyes and a reserved, powerful aura. She wore a breathtaking gown of layered tulle, embroidered with delicate roses, that highlighted the elegant line of her neck. Her pale skin was just visible beneath the sheer fabric, making her look like an ethereal, otherworldly beauty. On her head sat an antique tiara that spoke of old-world elegance and nobility. She walked past my 4 sisters and Caleb without a glance and came to stand directly in front of me. She looked at me, her eyes soft. I'm sorry I'm late. I was called away on an urgent assignment and had to take care of it before I could get here. I could see a fine sheen of sweat on her forehead. She had clearly rushed to get here. I instinctively raised my hand to wipe it away, but Zoe's sharp voice cut in. Who's this? Another actress you hired? We don't have time for this. Give the ballroom to Caleb. Our ceremony is about to start. Because of her family's military background, Khloe rarely made public appearances, and her photo had never been in any magazine or newspaper. And since she had always approached me privately, it was no surprise that none of them recognized her. Caleb, seeing that I was holding them up, started his victim routine again. Ethan, I know you're jealous that the sisters are marrying me. They're just doing this to help me so people won't look down on me anymore. Everyone knows about the wedding now. If you stop it from happening, I'll be a laughingstock. I'll never be able to make it in LA. I'll have to go back to my hometown. I'll be stuck there forever. He finished, his face a mask of sorrow. Seeing him like this, my 4 sisters' hearts melted with pity. I wasn't going to indulge him any longer. The reason you can't make it, I said, cutting straight to the point, is because you plagiarized my senior project. You're the one who did something wrong, not me. Stop playing the victim. Hearing this, Zoe clenched her fists. Her teeth gritted. Ethan Sterling, that's enough. Caleb already apologized for that. He just saw your design on my computer and was inspired by it. He didn't mean to copy it. Why do you keep bringing it up? Who are you trying to impress with this aggressive act? A cold smile touched my lips. Me, aggressive? If he really felt bad about what he did, he wouldn't be standing here wearing the suit that I designed. At that, Zoe was speechless. Amelia frowned, her voice sharper than usual. That's enough. This ends now. She then turned to Khloe, who stood beside me in her wedding gown. Amelia looked her up and down. Her years of experience in the business world told her that this woman was no mere actress. She was silent for a moment before speaking. Ethan, it's clear we've spoiled you far too much over the years. After our wedding with Caleb is over, we're going to have to teach you some manners. Isabella, who had been silent, finally spoke. Just step aside and let us have our wedding, and we'll forget this whole thing ever happened. You won't even have to apologize. Khloe stepped in front of me, her face a mask of cold fury, her voice laced with authority. You are in no position to teach my husband anything. At her words, the faces of the 4 sisters hardened. Isabella, in particular, seemed to ignite with a nameless rage at the sight of me standing behind Khloe. Her smile vanished, and she squinted at Khloe, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Which talent agency do you work for? You've certainly got the potential to be an actress. Do you even know who Khloe Vance is? You've got some nerve. Hearing this, Khloe turned and met my gaze, a look that seemed to ask, are they always this dense? I nodded. Zoe, seeing our silent exchange, grew even more furious. Ethan Sterling, don't push your luck. Do you have any idea who the Fiancées are? When they find out about this, Amelia is going to be the one cleaning up your mess. Now give us this ballroom so we can get married. Khloe rubbed her forehead, then gave a subtle nod to the bodyguards who had arrived with her. Remove them. Since you don't seem to understand words, perhaps a more direct approach is needed. Escort all 5 of them off the premises. And from now on, they are banned from all Vance family properties. Only then did the 5 of them seem to notice the bodyguards standing behind them. Unlike the estate's regular security, these men were built like soldiers, their posture and presence radiating military discipline. Zoe opened her mouth to protest, but Amelia cut her off with a sharp, "Quiet!" Amelia met Khloe's gaze, and something in the other woman's deep, steady eyes and powerful aura told her that this might actually be the real Khloe Vance. Before the bodyguards could move in, she changed her tack. We don't need this ballroom. We'll use the other one. But regardless of who you are, you know the Sterling family's position in LA. Our families have business together. It would be unwise to make this any uglier than it already is. Amelia was a true businesswoman. She knew exactly which levers to pull. But Khloe was unimpressed. She replied, her voice cold as ice. If I recall correctly, you were all adopted by Mr. Sterling. You are not his heirs. Without the Sterling family's backing, you are nothing. If he knew you were treating his grandson this way, I imagine he would have thrown you out long ago. Now, while I still have some patience left, get out. You are not welcome here. Khloe's words struck a nerve, but they still didn't move. Their fists were clenched, but the defiant provocations had stopped. They could all feel the immense pressure radiating from Khloe, and after Amelia's warning, they simply stared at her in silence. Amelia, usually so composed, was visibly shaken, as if Khloe's words had struck a physical blow. She replied to Khloe, her voice tight, "We can leave, but we're taking Ethan with us. We are his fiancés. We can't allow him to be with another woman." Khloe's brow furrowed, her expression sharp, her entire being radiating an aura of command. Amelia met her gaze, their eyes locked in a silent battle of wills. "Who gave you the absurd idea that you are Ethan's fiancés? Today is our wedding. From this day forward, he is my husband, and he has absolutely nothing to do with any of you." With that, Khloe gave a slight flick of her wrist, and her guards moved in, physically removing the 5 of them from the premises. Having just revealed her ruthless side to her new husband, Khloe felt a pang of nervousness. She turned to me, her expression softening. "Ethan," she asked, her voice gentle, "are you afraid of me when I'm like that?" Being born into a family like the Fiancées, she had to have a certain ruthlessness to survive, but it was a side of herself she had never wanted to show me. I met her gaze, my own filled with sincerity. "On the contrary," I said, "I should be thanking you for getting rid of those major problems for me." Hearing that, she seemed to relax. She knew the story of my sisters, knew that I was supposed to marry one of them. She had always assumed they treated me well. Today, she had seen for herself how much I had suffered. She looked at me with such tenderness that I felt myself blush. She pulled a small rice cake from her pocket and placed it in my hand. "You must be hungry after all this waiting. Here, have something to eat." I was so lost in her gentleness that I felt almost lightheaded. I unwrapped it and took a bite. It was soft and subtly sweet and delicious. Halfway through, I remembered the gift I had for her and pulled the brooch from my pocket. I handed it to her, unable to meet her eyes. "This is for you. I know it's not the first time we've met, but I wanted to give you something. I spent a long time choosing it. I hope you like it." She took it, a smile playing at the corners of her eyes as she looked at me. "I love it," she said softly. "I love anything that comes from you." She hadn't expected her husband to be so handsome and so sweet. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to throw her arms around me, but she restrained herself, as if afraid of scaring me. From the first time she had met me, she had sworn she would marry me. But family matters had forced her to go abroad, and she had missed so many years with me. She made a silent vow to herself then and there to make up for all that lost time, to cherish every moment we had together. Because of my grandfather's poor health, I hadn't asked him to leave the clinic for the wedding, and Khloe, not wanting to overwhelm me, had only invited a few of her closest family members. The ceremony was simple. Afterwards, I went with her back to her home in the family quarters of the military base. She had decorated our new home beautifully and had already prepared everything for me, down to slippers, a toothbrush, and towels. The base housing was, of course, a far cry from the mansion. Khloe looked up at me. "I thought about having you stay at the mansion in the city, but my family's affairs can be complicated. I didn't want you to have to face all that alone. That's why I wanted you to come here with me. The accommodations may not be as luxurious, but no one will ever be able to bother you here. You can do whatever you want here in peace." She gently brushed her forehead against mine. "You must be exhausted. Let's get cleaned up and get some rest." My face instantly grew hot. Were we going to be sleeping in the same bed or... In the dim light, Khloe took a step closer, the space between us vanishing. She rose onto her tiptoes, her warm breath tickling my ear as she whispered, "Ethan, would you prefer to sleep together or in separate rooms?" This playful, seductive woman was a world away from the serious commander I had seen during the day. I was enveloped in her clean, fresh scent, and my mind went blank. Before I could answer, she stepped back. "The base assigned us a 2-bedroom house. You can take the master bedroom. I'll sleep in the guest room." We were married, so sleeping together would have been natural, but we barely knew each other, and I wasn't ready for that yet. She had clearly sensed my apprehension and hadn't pushed me. Meanwhile, back at the mansion in LA, Amelia and the others had returned with Caleb, only to find the gates locked. They tried the old security code, but it wouldn't open. Amelia immediately called her assistant. Send someone to check the security system at the mansion. Her assistant was silent for a moment before replying. Ma'am, that mansion is currently listed for sale. I'm sending you the link to the listing now. Hearing this, Amelia's face darkened. She clicked the link. It was indeed their mansion. Maya, sensing something was wrong, leaned in. Amelia, what is it? Amelia's brow was furrowed. Ethan has put the house up for sale. At this news, all of their faces fell. From the woman at the wedding to the for sale sign on the house, they were suddenly hit with the realization that I wasn't playing games. I was really leaving them. They exchanged a look and saw the same panic and unease reflected in each other's eyes. They had never imagined I would actually leave them. In the past, when they had hinted at their feelings for me, I had been flustered and flattered. I had wanted to marry one of them, but could never bring myself to choose. They had even made a pact that no matter who I chose, it wouldn't affect their relationship as sisters. How could I have chosen someone else entirely? Had I been telling the truth all this time when I said I had a wife? Had I been planning to leave them for a month? Zoe finally voiced the question on all of their minds. Is Ethan really leaving us to marry someone else? Amelia, was that woman today really Khloe Vance? As soon as they had left the estate, Amelia had had someone pull up the recording of the live stream. Only someone with military connections could have orchestrated such a display, and only someone completely unafraid of the consequences would have treated them with such disrespect. That woman could only have been Khloe Vance. Amelia nodded silently. The faces of the other three turned grim. If it had been anyone else, they would have been confident they could win me back. But Khloe Vance, that was a different story. A heavy silence fell over them, a shared frustration with no outlet. Caleb, on the other hand, was secretly pleased. If Ethan was really married, then he would have the four of them all to himself. Today's wedding may have been a disaster, but they would all be living under the same roof. He was confident he could win one of them over. He would marry one of them, and then he would finally have a secure place in LA society. The thought made him swell with pride, but he put on a look of disappointment. Ethan knew you all grew up in this house together. Why would he sell it? At his words, their expressions grew even darker. I hadn't just abandoned them. I had abandoned all the years of memories they had shared. No matter what, they had to keep the house. Even if I was gone, at least they would have the house, a place to hold on to the memories. Amelia immediately called her assistant. Buy the house. The assistant hesitated. Ma'am, there aren't sufficient funds in the account. Amelia frowned. What do you mean, not enough funds? Is there a problem with the company? The assistant stammered. And no, ma'am, the company is fine. It's just, you no longer have the authority to access the corporate accounts. Mr. Sterling has revoked your privileges, and your personal accounts don't have enough to cover the cost of the mansion. In the silent night, the voice on the phone was loud enough for everyone to hear. If grandfather had intervened, it meant he knew about my marriage. They, who had been chosen by him to be my potential brides, now had no hope at all. Isabella stepped forward and put a hand on Amelia's shoulder. Amelia, I have some savings. See if it's enough if we pool our money. Maya added, mine too. Zoe quickly chimed in, I've saved up all my prize money. You can have it, Amelia. The mansion, in the heart of Beverly Hills, was worth a fortune. The four of them had never imagined they would be in such a position, having to pool their money just to buy back their own home. A somber silence fell over them. Caleb's face fell for a moment when he heard this. But then he remembered. Amelia was a top financier, Maya a world-class surgeon, Isabella an Oscar-winning actress, and Zoe a champion race car driver. Even without the Sterling family's support, they would be fine. Besides, he had grown accustomed to the mansion. He couldn't imagine living in some small, shabby apartment. He spoke up cautiously, Amelia, I have some money too. Before he could finish, Zoe cut him off. How much could you possibly have? Seeing the hurt look on his face, she quickly backtracked. I didn't mean it like that. This house isn't your responsibility. You don't have to contribute. Her words, meant to be comforting, only made him feel more like an outsider. But their minds were elsewhere, and no one noticed his crestfallen expression. Feeling snubbed, Caleb's resentment grew. In the past, they would have noticed his slightest change in mood. The smallest hint of sadness from him would have sent them into a flurry of concern. How had everything changed so much, just because I was gone? Amelia pooled their money and called her assistant to buy the house. After hanging up, she told the others, I have some stocks and mutual funds. I'll pay you all back as soon as they're liquidated. As the eldest, she couldn't let her sisters bear the financial burden. Though not related by blood, they had been through so much together over the years that they considered each other family. Maya adjusted her glasses. Amelia, we all have enough to live on. Don't rush your investments. Just think of it as us lending it to you. If we ever really need it, we'll ask for it back. The other two nodded in agreement. That's right, Amelia. We're not in a hurry. As long as we have the house back. It's our home after all. At the word home, all four of them felt a sting in their eyes. It was my grandfather who had given them a home, a place where they had shared so many happy memories with me. The assistant worked quickly. In less than 10 minutes, the sale was complete, and he sent them the new security code. As they opened the gate and stepped inside, they all felt a sense of relief. At least they had saved this piece of their shared history. They ignored Caleb, who trailed behind them, and went straight to my old room. They found it, like much of the house, completely empty, save for the furniture. My actions had been so final. They had no choice but to accept that I was really gone. They tried to message me, only to be met with the red exclamation point of a blocked number. Zoe felt a gnawing unease in her chest, a frustration she couldn't quite name. How could he do this? Block all of us? Do all those years we spent together mean nothing to him? Maya stared at her phone. Their last chat was from a month ago. It was a long string of my apologies, and her replies always telling me to give something else to Caleb. A wave of exhaustion washed over her, and she sank onto the edge of the bed. Did we make a mistake? Ever since Caleb came, we made Ethan give him everything. But all of those things were his to begin with. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. As they scrolled through their old messages with me, the full weight of how badly they had treated me began to sink in. I had been their beloved little brother. When had that changed? Just then, Caleb appeared in the doorway. He asked timidly, Isabella, can you stay with me tonight? The house feels so empty. I'm a little scared. Isabella looked at him, but the pity that had once been in her eyes was gone. If you're scared, turn on a light, she said coldly. What good am I going to do? Caleb froze, stunned by her coldness. In the past, all four of them would have been fighting over who got to comfort him. Now, none of them would even spare him a glance. His face fell. I'm really scared, he whispered. Seeing his pathetic state, they finally relented. Zoe sighed and went to him. Come on, I'll stay with you. None of them slept that night. They were all consumed with one thought, how to get me back. Now that I was gone, the house felt cold and empty. This house held so many memories, from the day they arrived when I was 10, all the way through my college graduation. All the memories, sweet and bitter, came flooding back. I, on the other hand, slept soundly, more soundly than I had since my rebirth. Khloe had freed me from them, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't have any nightmares. I woke up around noon. Khloe came home on her lunch break and brought me food. The food at the mess hall is pretty bland. I was afraid you wouldn't like it, so I had someone bring you some kung pao chicken and spicy beef. Come and try it. I had smelled the delicious aroma as soon as she walked in. I've always loved spicy food, and these dishes were perfect. Seeing how much I was enjoying it, a rare smile touched Khloe's usually serious face. Slow down, she said. No one's going to take it from you. She handed me a glass of water. I have the afternoon off. Let's go visit your grandfather at the clinic. I nodded. In my last life, I had been their prisoner, and I never got to see my grandfather one last time before he died. It was my biggest regret. My grandfather had been a decorated soldier in his youth, and though old injuries still plagued him, he was still strong. In my past life, he had died of a sudden heart attack not long after this. In this life, I would make sure he got a thorough checkup and prevent that tragedy from ever happening again. As we left, Khloe's soft hand found mine. Her hand was soft, but her touch sent a pleasant tingle through my hand and straight to my heart. We walked slowly down a path lined with sycamore trees, the sunlight filtering through the leaves and casting long shadows on the ground before us. This, I thought, must be what peace feels like. Afternoon, sir. A few of Khloe's new recruits suddenly appeared on the path, saluting me and calling out in unison. My face flushed, and I mumbled a quiet, hello, back. I leaned a little closer to Khloe, embarrassed. Khloe, who was usually all stern-faced discipline with her recruits, was now smiling warmly at them. Their respectful greetings made me want to disappear, but Khloe was clearly enjoying it. The walk to the clinic wasn't long, but it felt like an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest. The moment I saw him, I rushed to his bedside and threw my arms around him, tears instantly springing to my eyes. Grandfather, I've missed you so much. The old man, even in his hospital bed, had an air of authority, but my choked sobs seemed to move him. He patted my back. "All right, Ethan, you're a grown man now, still clinging to your old grandfather? Khloe's right here, watching you." I reluctantly let go, and Khloe immediately stepped forward, taking my hand and giving it a gentle squeeze. "Grandfather, he just missed you very much." Seeing Khloe standing protectively by my side, a satisfied smile spread across my grandfather's face. "Now that you're living on base with her, you can see each other all the time. If she gives you any trouble, you just tell me, and I'll set her straight." Khloe glanced at me, a gentle smile in her eyes. "Don't worry, grandfather. I would never bully Ethan." Good, good. My grandfather nodded, clearly very pleased with his new granddaughter-in-law. Then a thought struck me. I stepped closer. "Grandfather, have you had any chest pain recently?" He shook his head. "No, nothing with my heart. I'm in the physical therapy wing. It's just the old aches and pains. My heart feels fine." In my last life, he had died of a sudden heart attack, so despite his assurances, I insisted he get a full cardiac workup. I held the test results in my hand. His heart function was completely normal. I was confused. If his heart was fine, how could he have died of a heart attack in my past life? Back at the mansion, my 4 sisters had been searching for me for a week with no luck. It was as if I had vanished into thin air. They racked their brains, trying to remember everything I had said over the past month. The only clue they had was my declaration: "I'm going to marry Khloe Vance." In previous years, we had always spent the holidays together. Now, without me, a heavy gloom had settled over the 4 of them. Caleb had gone to the trouble of making them homemade dumplings, but they hadn't even glanced at them. Maya couldn't stand the oppressive atmosphere. She suddenly remembered that I had been in the hospital for a few days. The private rooms at her hospital had security cameras. Maybe they could find a clue there. She grabbed her coat and headed for the door, calling over her shoulder, "I'm going to the hospital to check the security footage from Ethan's room. Maybe I can find something." Caleb, already feeling dejected from their coldness over the past few days, felt even more so now that they were ignoring him completely. "Amelia, Isabella, Zoe, I made these dumplings myself. Please, just have a little." In the past, they would have rushed to comfort him, but now, they just felt an inexplicable irritation. Amelia didn't even glance at him. "I'm going with you," she said to Maya's retreating back. The others quickly followed suit. Caleb panicked. He had taunted me in the hospital that day, had even admitted to being the one who drugged me. If they saw that footage, he was finished. He tried desperately to stop them, but it was no use. When they returned, having seen the footage of his arrogant confession, they were furious. But before they could confront him, he fell to his knees before them. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have flaunted your affection in front of Ethan. You can punish me however you want." After seeing his true, arrogant self on the video, this pathetic, groveling act was simply nauseating. Amelia, ever the logical one, cut straight to the heart of the matter. "In the video, you admitted to drugging Ethan. That means you were the one who lit the aphrodisiac incense in the lounge. No one framed you. Is that correct?" Caleb hadn't expected her to connect the 2 incidents. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he began to tremble. The faces of the other 3 sisters changed as well. They couldn't believe that the innocent boy they had protected for so long was actually a venomous snake. Zoe, being the closest to me in age, had once been my fiercest protector. But Caleb's manipulations had slowly turned her against me. She now wondered how many other times he had deliberately framed me. The thought sent a chill down her spine. If it hadn't been for that security footage, they might still believe that I had been the one playing games that night. All 4 of their faces were pale with fury. Caleb collapsed to the floor, his voice filled with desperation. "I didn't do it. I was framed. You have to believe me. Ethan sponsored my education. He did so much for me. How could I ever hurt him?" He tried to force tears, but no one was moved. Isabella, who had always been so gentle with him, now spoke in a voice of ice. "Amelia, he is no longer fit to work for the company. Fire him." Caleb crawled over, trying to grab Maya's leg, but she kicked him away. He bowed his head to the floor, begging, "Amelia, Maya, please, don't fire me. If I lose this job, I'll have to go back home. I'll be all alone there, and who knows what the people in my town will do to me. Please, have mercy." His words failed to move any of them. Zoe strode forward and grabbed his chin. "I protected you, and this is how you repay me? You malicious snake. How many times did you frame Ethan? Was it fun, playing us all for fools? Did it make you feel powerful? You should have stayed in your miserable little town and been sold off to some old widow. I'll send you back there myself tomorrow." At that, Caleb truly panicked. Zoe, please, don't do this to me. I'll do anything. Just don't send me back there. Please, don't make me leave. Zoe shoved him away. Don't call me your sister. I don't have a venomous snake for a brother. Caleb continued to plead, his words becoming repetitive, almost robotic. He was stalling, waiting for the right moment. Amelia was the first to notice it. A strange heat was spreading through her body. She tried to stand, but her legs felt weak. A fierce, predatory look entered her eyes as she stared at Caleb. You lit the incense, she said, her voice a low growl. The others, hearing this, slowly realized it too. They were all feeling the same rising heat. Isabella tore at the collar of her shirt, exposing the swell of her breasts. A smirk played on Caleb's lips. Yes, I figured it out. If I get one of you pregnant, you'll have to let me stay. He had been planning this ever since they left for the hospital. He had originally thought that by living with them, he could eventually win one of them over, marry her, and secure his position. But watching them search frantically for me, completely ignoring him, he knew that was no longer possible. So he had moved on to plan B, get one of them pregnant. An illegitimate child would still have a claim to the family fortune. He would still get his money. Hearing his plan, Zoe exploded. You think you're worthy of having a child with any of us? You're not fit to lick Ethan's boots. At that, Caleb laughed even louder. Ethan Sterling? What's so great about him? He's just a spoiled brat born with a silver spoon in his mouth. If he had been born in my shoes, in that miserable town, fending off the advances of old widows, he never would have made it out. If I had been born with his advantages, I wouldn't be in this pathetic state. Isabella shot back. Have you forgotten who paid for your high school and college tuition? Without Ethan, you would still be stuck in that miserable town. As she spoke, the drug made her pant, her usually gentle voice now husky and alluring. Of the four sisters, Isabella was the one Caleb had genuinely been attracted to. If he was going to get any of them pregnant, he hoped it would be her. He had taken an antidote beforehand, so he was much more clear-headed than the four women in the room. He crawled over to her, pulling at the collar of her shirt, his fingers tracing patterns on her skin. Her first instinct was to push him away, but under the influence of the drug, a soft moan escaped her lips instead. His touch ignited a fire within her, and with his continued caresses, her last shred of reason went up in flames. The debauchery didn't end until dawn. After that night, Caleb became their prisoner. He had brought this on himself, so he couldn't blame them for their cruelty. They subjected him to every depravity imaginable, keeping him chained to the bed to prevent his escape. 3 months passed, and they still had no word from me. But they heard that my grandfather had been discharged from the clinic. They called him, begging for a chance to see me and apologize in person. I was there when he took the call, and I refused without a second thought. So, my grandfather told them, "There's no need for you to visit. I'm fine. Just focus on your own lives." He had handpicked those 4 girls from the orphanage himself and had raised them like his own granddaughters for years. He still had some affection for them, despite everything. I knew a little about what was happening with them now. Grandfather had demoted Amelia to a small subsidiary, where she was apparently not being treated well. That's how the business world works. When you're on top, everyone wants to be your friend. When you're down, they avoid you like the plague. Isabella, without the backing of the family fortune, had lost many of her resources. Her production company was giving her the cold shoulder, and her endorsement deals were drying up. Hollywood is a fickle place. I didn't know the details about the other 2, but I was sure their quality of life had taken a nosedive. If they hadn't betrayed me, they would still be on top of the world. But they had crossed my grandfather's line. I was his only grandson, and he had raised them for the sole purpose of protecting me when he was no longer able to. Not only had they failed to protect me, they had actively helped an outsider to hurt me. That was a line my grandfather would never forgive them for crossing. I knelt down to massage my grandfather's legs. "Khloe has taken a month's leave," I said quietly. "We're going back to LA to get our marriage license. Will you come with us, grandfather?" He nodded. Of course. Our families need to have a formal dinner to celebrate. He knew the Vance women were famously loyal, but he still wanted to be there to support me. And with those girls still in LA, he wanted to be there to make sure they didn't cause any more trouble for me. Khloe didn't get back from her training until late that evening. I was already asleep when she got home. She gently pulled back the covers and wrapped her arms around me from behind. The weight of her arm on my waist woke me. Her warm breath tickled my neck. "Did I wake you?" she whispered. I shook my head and turned to face her. "I'm a light sleeper," I have a bad feeling about this trip back. In my last life, my grandfather was already gone by this time, and even though his health checks had all come back clear, I still had a nagging feeling of dread. Sensing my anxiety, Khloe pulled me closer. "Don't worry," she murmured. "I'm here." Her voice was soft but firm, and incredibly reassuring. I let her hold me, cleared my mind, and drifted back to sleep. She watched me sleep, silently vowing to protect me for the rest of our lives, to never let anyone hurt me again. We were up early the next day, and the three of us took a helicopter back to LA. The first thing we did when we got back was go to City Hall to get our marriage license. Looking at the official document in our hands, we both broke into wide smiles. Khloe stood on her tiptoes and kissed the corner of my mouth. 88 proposals, she whispered, and I finally got to marry the man I love. Our feelings for each other had grown steadily over the past 3 months, and I could feel the depth of her love for me. I was curious. We had barely known each other before. How could her feelings be so strong, so persistent that she would propose 88 times? I had never asked her before, but today, I couldn't resist. I looked at her. "Can I ask you something?" She held me close, gently stroking my chin. "Anything," she said. "I'll tell you anything you want to know." So I asked. We barely knew each other. "Why did you propose to me 88 times? Weren't you afraid that I wasn't the person you thought I was? That I was actually just a spoiled, petulant brat?" She didn't answer right away. She just looked into my eyes, her gaze full of love, and then whispered in my ear, "Think carefully, Ethan. Have we really never met before?" Her question threw me. When had we ever had any deep connection? With a face as beautiful as hers, how could I not remember? I frowned, trying to remember. Besides her proposals, where else could I have seen her? I couldn't recall a thing. I looked at her and mumbled, "Have we met, other than when you were proposing to me? Are you messing with me?" I searched my memory and came up with nothing. I was starting to think she was just teasing me. She smiled and shook her head, a look of fond exasperation on her face. You're right. I'm just a shallow woman who fell for your handsome face and relentlessly pursued you." That was even more unbelievable than her first answer. I pushed her away playfully. "Fine, don't tell me." She took my hand and pulled me back into her embrace, her voice soft as she began to explain. "Our first meeting wasn't exactly a happy one. I was only 10, an age that should have been filled with innocence and joy. But that was the year my parents died in an accident. My grandfather, having to bury his own children, seemed to age a decade overnight. And I, at 10 years old, fell gravely ill with a high fever that nearly killed me. That was when she met me. She had been diagnosed with a rare condition that had left her temporarily deaf. And during that dark and silent time, I appeared. I was sick with a fever myself, but every day, I would find her and tell her stories. Since she couldn't hear, I would draw them for her, filling sketchbook after sketchbook with my little cartoons. It was my encouragement, she said, that helped her slowly emerge from the darkness. After she recovered, she had wanted to say a proper goodbye, but her family had rushed her off to a school overseas before she had the chance. Hearing her story, my eyes grew misty. So that little girl, that was you. During the time she was talking about, my own grandfather had been busy with family matters, and I had been left alone in the hospital. My only companions were 2 bodyguards. I was too young to understand the finality of death. All I knew was that my parents were gone. I was all alone in that hospital, with no friends or family to keep me company. She had been my light during that dark time. Her companionship was what had helped me to heal. After she left, I had relapsed with another high fever, and that fever had clouded my already hazy memories of that time, which is why I hadn't recognized her. She gently brushed my cheek. "Don't be sad. We have to go to dinner soon. If grandfather sees you like this, he'll think I've been bullying you." I couldn't help but smile. "I'm going to tell him that a little girl used to bully me when I was 10, making me draw cartoons for her every day." She shook her head, a helpless but fond smile in her eyes. "A girl had to spoil her husband, after all. Then what can I do to make it up to you?" She had proposed 88 times to get me. She cherished what we had more than anything, and she would never let me go. The 2 families had arranged to have dinner together that evening, and my grandfather was dressed and ready long before it was time to leave. Both families were taking this meeting very seriously. As soon as we entered the private dining room, Khloe's parents took my hand, pressing 2 thick envelopes and a black credit card into it. "Ethan, this is to celebrate your marriage to Khloe. Buy whatever you want. Don't worry about saving her money." Then, her father handed me a folder full of property deeds. "Last time was too rushed. I didn't have a chance to give you these. See which one you like. and you can make it your new home. I didn't need any of it, but it felt good to be so warmly welcomed, to feel the genuine affection in their eyes. Khloe smiled. Go on, take it. My parents prepared it especially for us. I nodded and smiled at them. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Hearing me call them that, their faces lit up with joy. Come, let's raise a glass to your grandfather. Sir, you've raised a fine young man. Our Khloe is very lucky to have him. My grandfather beamed as he took a sip of his wine. And I can rest easy knowing Ethan has Khloe. It was clear that all three of them were very happy with the marriage. Throughout the meal, the elders kept piling food onto my plate until it was a small mountain. I couldn't refuse their kindness, so I ate every last bite. Khloe, noticing my plight, discreetly took some of the food from my plate, but I still ended up eating so much that the sight of meat started to make me feel nauseous. Khloe had eaten a lot as well, and by the end of the meal, she was also starting to feel a bit queasy. Her reaction, however, sent a ripple of excitement through the table. Khloe's mother's eyes lit up. Khloe, that reaction? Could it be? Her words made me blush instantly. Khloe and I had been intimate, but I hadn't considered the possibility. After dinner, both sets of parents urged Khloe to see a doctor the next day, and we both agreed. But while our evening was filled with joy, the atmosphere back at the mansion was anything but. Caleb was being tormented by the four sisters daily, and he had long since come to regret his actions. He begged for mercy, but they showed him none. He had once lived like a prince in this luxurious mansion, spoiled and pampered. Now he was nothing more than their plaything. He collapsed on the floor, tears of genuine despair streaming down his face. The sun was shining outside, but for Caleb, the world had gone dark. He had fought so hard to escape his impoverished hometown, to get into college. He had worked so hard to win my sympathy, to get me to bring him into this life of luxury. And through his careful manipulation, he had turned my sisters against me and made them his devoted protectors. But he couldn't understand why it had all fallen apart the moment I left. Now he had fallen from grace, his beautiful dream shattered into a million pieces. He was an ugly duckling once more, but he refused to accept it. Why did I, the arrogant, spoiled brat, get to have their love and then marry into the most powerful family in LA? Was it just because I was born into the right family? In terms of ability, how was he any less deserving than me? He wouldn't give up. He would make one last, desperate attempt. For 3 months, the four sisters would come to his room every night, their breath thick with the smell of alcohol. They had been searching for me frantically, but without their former status, they were just ordinary women, powerless in the face of the city's elite, and they took all of their frustration out on him. That night, they entered his room as they always did. Caleb immediately fell to his knees. Amelia, Maya, Isabella, Zoe, I know I was wrong. I was so wrong. I never should have hurt Ethan. I never should have thought I could have any of you. I was wrong. Please, just let me go. He repeated his pleas for forgiveness over and over, but the four women remained unmoved. Isabella said coldly, "Save your act. We're not falling for your tricks anymore." Zoe straddled him, grabbing his chin. "You think looking pathetic is going to make us let you go? Do you have any idea how much damage you've done? We didn't just lose Ethan. Amelia lost her position as CEO. She's been getting treated like dirt at that pathetic subsidiary. Isabella has been backstabbed by everyone in the industry. In the past, no one would have dared to cross her. You ruined everything. Why should we ever forgive you?" But instead of cowering, Caleb lunged forward and bit her. His teeth broke the skin, leaving a deep, bleeding mark on her hand. She slapped him hard across the face. "You dare to bite me!" The blow sent stars dancing in his vision, his face as pale as a ghost. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked up at them, a sneer on his lips. "You all act so high and mighty, but deep down you're just as pathetic as I am. You only kissed up to Ethan to get ahead." His words ignited a fresh wave of fury in all of them. Zoe's face flushed with rage. "What the hell are you talking about? Say another word and I'll kill you." Maya, usually so refined, spat out, "Not everyone is a money-grubbing parasite like you. If you can't learn to hold your tongue, I have no problem sewing it shut for you." Even the usually silent Amelia spoke up. "Our relationship with Ethan spanned more than a decade. You have no right to speak of it." Their voices were all raised, sharp with defensiveness. It was the sound of people with something to hide. Caleb's words had struck a nerve, exposing a secret they had all kept hidden. When they first came to live with us, they had tried desperately to please me, always giving in to my whims, all in the hopes of making me happy. They knew that as long as I was happy, they would have a place in our home, a happy Ethan meant better educational opportunities for Amelia, a better life for all of them, a life where they didn't have to worry about their next meal and could pursue their dreams. My grandfather had told them that one day, I would choose one of them to be my wife, and they knew that only the one I chose would be able to keep this life forever. From that day on, they had all treated me like their future husband, and as they watched the little boy grow into a young man, their calculated affection had slowly blossomed into something real. But none of them had ever shown it too openly, not wanting to create tension between them. They had made a pact. No matter who I chose, they would remain sisters for life. How could a venomous creature like Caleb ever understand the complexities of their feelings? But the man before them didn't back down. He just laughed harder. He smirked. Really? Would any of you be where you are today without Ethan Sterling? You're just like me. Orphans. No one to love you, no one to care for you. Just a bunch of worthless nobodies. Zoe slapped him again. I'll show you who's worthless. In the past, he would have cowered and begged for mercy. But today, he met her gaze defiantly. He looked her straight in the eye. Yes, I'm worthless, but you might be carrying my child, and that would make your child a worthless bastard too. His words stunned them into silence. The fire in Zoe's eyes dimmed. The room fell into a dead silence. The four sisters exchanged a look of stunned disbelief. Finally, Amelia broke the silence. We're going to the hospital tomorrow for a checkup. You'd better not be planning anything. Caleb had been right about one thing. They were all orphans. They had grown up without love or affection. While other children were being spoiled by their families, they were worrying about where their next meal would come from. In the orphanage, they had learned to be agreeable, to work hard to please the staff, all for an extra piece of candy or a kind word. They had learned to make friends cautiously, knowing they could be taken away at any moment. And one by one, their friends had been adopted, leaving them behind as a new wave of children arrived. Deep down, they were all profoundly lonely. If any of them were pregnant, they would keep the child. No matter who the father was, that child would be family. This was what Caleb had been waiting for. He had said all of this just to get them to take him to the hospital. In the mansion, under their watchful eyes, he had no chance of escape. But a hospital was crowded, chaotic. A hospital was his chance. That night, for the first time in months, they left him alone. It was the first time in 3 months he had been able to sleep through the night. But his sleep was fitful, filled with nightmares of their torment. He had been living in a waking nightmare, his body and mind pushed to their limits. He woke before dawn, unable to sleep, his mind consumed with the hope of escape. The next day, all 4 of them cleared their schedules and took Caleb to the hospital. They watched him like a hawk, never letting him out of their sight. He had hoped that during their private examinations, he would have a chance to slip away. But Maya, using her authority as a doctor, insisted he accompany them to every test, leaving him no opportunity to escape. The hope that had flickered in his eyes died. Was this really going to be his life forever? A prisoner, a plaything. How was this any different from being sold to an old widow back in his hometown? Despair clouded his eyes once more. Meanwhile, at the Vance family home, I slept in, waking up naturally. Khloe was standing by the bed. She leaned down and kissed my forehead. Hungry? Let's get some breakfast before we go to the hospital. I asked the doctor. You don't need to fast for a pregnancy test. I wrapped my arms around her neck, pulling her closer. I could see the blush on her cheeks as I whispered in her ear, but I can't seem to get out of bed. Before I could finish, she pulled me to my feet. I let out a surprised yelp and grabbed onto her shoulders for balance. We had just stepped outside when we ran into my grandfather, returning from his morning walk. Ethan, he said, his voice laced with amusement. You're a grown man now, clinging to your wife like that. What will people think? Let her go. I flushed with embarrassment and tried to pull away, but Khloe just held me tighter. Grandfather, she said, her tone perfectly serious. Didn't you approve of our marriage precisely because you knew I would take good care of him? He's just woken up and is still a bit groggy. It's only right that I help him. I gave her a playful pinch on her back, but she just continued, her voice bright. Grandfather, have you had breakfast yet? Would you like to join us? My grandfather just waved us on. As she pulled me downstairs, I playfully scolded her, though my voice was filled with affection. Don't do that in front of my grandfather. She whispered in my ear, It's fine. Didn't you see the smile on his face? He was pleased. We finished our breakfast and then headed to the hospital. Khloe was about to use her connections to get us seen right away, but I stopped her. We're not in a rush. Let's just wait in the regular line at the maternity ward. She nodded. Whatever you say, my dear husband. We registered and went to wait in the maternity ward, and I never would have expected to see them there. My 4 sisters and Caleb. Amelia was sitting on a bench, her expression grim. The other 3 were huddled around Caleb. Maya was facing the entrance, and she saw me the moment I walked in. "Ethan," she gasped. All eyes turned to me. Amelia shot to her feet. The look in their eyes was a complex mixture of surprise, hope, and a desperate, helpless anxiety. Zoe started walking toward me, but Khloe stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Ignoring Khloe's stony expression, she looked past her to me, her voice soft and filled with a sorrowful longing. "Ethan, where have you been for the past 3 months? Do you have any idea how long we've been looking for you?" Maya joined her. "Ethan, please stop this. We all miss you. Please, come home with us." Isabella reached for me, but Khloe slapped her hand away. Having never been treated with such disrespect since she became famous, she lost her composure. "Khloe Vance," she shrieked. "What right do you have to stop me? The years of history we have with Ethan. What do you, an outsider, know about it?" Khloe's cool gaze turned to ice. "First of all, I am not an outsider. I am Ethan's legal wife. And second, you're still entangled with that person. What right do you have to question me?" With that, she wiped her hand on her pants, as if disgusted by the contact. At the mention of Caleb's name, the 3 of them faltered. "We just brought him here for a checkup," Amelia said quickly. "That's all." Khloe gave them a withering look. "A checkup? In the maternity ward? A prenatal checkup, perhaps?" Their flimsy excuse exposed, their bravado deflated. I remained silent behind Khloe, but my brow furrowed at the sight of Caleb. In just 3 months, he had become a shell of his former self, his eyes hollow with a despair I knew all too well. I recognized that look. It was the same look I had worn in my past life, when I was their prisoner. And these women, who claimed to miss me, to cherish our history, did they want to take me back and make me their plaything, just as they had done to him? The thought made me sick to my stomach. I stumbled to a nearby trash can and threw up. Khloe was instantly by my side, rubbing my back. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" My 4 sisters rushed over as well. Maya's brow was furrowed with concern. "Ethan, what's wrong?" While all of their attention was focused on me, Caleb slipped away unnoticed. After a few moments, the nausea subsided. I looked at them, my expression cold. "What's wrong with me? What do you care? You're here, so I assume one of you is pregnant with Caleb's child. So, which one of you is going to marry him?" At my words, the color drained from their faces. Isabella looked at me, her eyes pleading. "Ethan, it's always been you. We would never marry Caleb, and we didn't bring him here for a pregnancy test." Just as she finished speaking, a nurse called out, "The test results for Caleb's wife are ready. She's 8 weeks along." The nurse's words were like a slap across Isabella's face. But she was a consummate actress. After a fleeting moment of embarrassment, she recovered. "We've been so busy looking for you, we haven't had time to keep track of his love life." She turned, intending to give Caleb a look to play along, but he was gone. "Where's Caleb?" The 4 sisters exchanged a look, their eyes filled with a cold fury. But in front of me, they restrained themselves. Amelia, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "Ethan, we were just looking out for him. He's all alone in this city." "Enough," I snapped. "I don't need your explanations. From the day Khloe and I got married, we have had nothing to do with each other. I believe I made it clear that we were finished. Stop harassing me." I looked at them with cold indifference, as if they were strangers. They were stunned by my coldness, by my finality. Isabella's eyes filled with disappointment. "After all these years, how can you just throw it all away?" I looked at them and laughed. "Our relationship ended the moment you started choosing him over me, the moment you started hurting me for his sake. Do I need to remind you of all the things you've done?" Their faces fell, their expressions a mixture of guilt and despair. They knew all too well the cruel things they had said to me, all for Caleb's sake. Zoe, who had always been the most vicious with her words, was the first to apologize. "Ethan, it was our fault, but he tricked us. We didn't see him for who he really was. We see it now, and we are so sorry. Please, give us a chance to make it up to you." Maya's voice was a soft, gentle plea. "Ethan, I know you still care about us. You used to have fresh milk flown in from New Zealand for my hands. Have you forgotten that?" I laughed coldly. "I haven't forgotten. I remember it all too well. In my last life, it was those very hands that killed me. And now, the owner of those hands wants to talk to me about feelings. How utterly absurd." Even the proud Amelia lowered her head. "Ethan, just forgive us. We'll do anything." I couldn't stand their incessant pleading. My good mood was completely ruined. I felt drained. Khloe stepped up behind me, her hand a steady presence on my back. She looked at them, her eyes cold. Ethan has made himself perfectly clear. He doesn't want you to bother him anymore. You would do well to remember how you got to where you are. Los Angeles is not your playground. You should think very carefully before you act. With a snap of her fingers, a team of bodyguards appeared and escorted the 4 of them out of the hospital. Make sure they never come near him again, she instructed them. I nodded in agreement. What she said. The 4 sisters struggled against the guards, their eyes wide with disbelief. Ethan, are you really so cruel? Are you really going to cut us out of your life completely? Just give us one more chance. We can go back to the way things were. Please. But no matter what they said, I remained unmoved. No, I said without hesitation. We're finished. We go our separate ways. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. At my words, they began to cry. Ethan, after all these years, how can you be so cruel? You're going to regret this. Khloe gave a sharp wave of her hand, and the bodyguards dragged them away. But I wouldn't regret it. I would only be grateful to be free of them. After they were gone, the hallway was blessedly quiet. Khloe then led me into the examination room. We sat together on a bench in the waiting room, waiting for the results. Khloe was so nervous she was wringing her hands. Her usually composed features creased with worry. I reached out and smoothed the worry lines from her brow. Why so nervous? I teased. You were so calm yesterday when our parents suggested it. She met my gaze. That was an act. The thought of having a child with you, I'm so excited I can barely contain it. But I was afraid of getting my hopes up and of disappointing you, so I tried to hide it. I poked her cheek playfully. You silly girl. Even if it's not this time, there will be plenty of other chances. Hearing that seemed to calm her nerves. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a deep, possessive love. Yes, she whispered in my ear. Plenty of opportunities. An hour later, the results were in. Khloe stared at the report, reading it over and over again, as if to confirm that it was real. A slow, wide grin spread across her usually serious face. She threw her arms around me, her voice filled with joy. Ethan, we're having a baby. I laughed and patted her on the back. I know. You can let go now. But she just held on tighter, her voice ringing through the hallway, announcing our news to everyone within earshot. People passing by offered their congratulations. Just as she finally let go, her phone rang. It was her mother. Khloe, you need to get to the Sterling Corp building right away. Someone is causing a scene. Ethan's grandfather is there. Don't let him get upset. She hung up, her brow furrowed with worry. A knot of anxiety formed in my stomach. What is it? I asked. What's wrong? There's a disturbance at the Sterling Corp building, she said, her voice grim. I'm going to check it out. You should go home and wait for me. She was about to call for a car to take me home, but I stopped her. Is my grandfather there? She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I'm going with you, I said without hesitation. I'm worried about my grandfather. Seeing my determination, she knew she couldn't change my mind. She took my hand. All right, but don't worry. I'll handle everything. Just promise me you'll stay safe. I nodded. I will, and I'll protect you and our baby. We drove to the Sterling Corp headquarters, and as we got out of the car, we saw him, Caleb, who had vanished from the hospital. He was standing in front of the building, live streaming to a large crowd that had gathered around him. Behind him hung a large banner that read, LA's 4 princesses and Sterling heir Ethan Sterling, abusers of the poor and powerless. He was weeping in front of the camera, accusing the 5 of us of all manner of crimes. Ethan Sterling pretended to be my benefactor, he cried, but he only wanted to lure me into his home to be a plaything for his 4 sisters. The so-called 4 princesses of LA are nothing more than child brides, chosen for him by his grandfather from an orphanage. Their private lives are a depraved mess, and they tried to drag me into it. I worked so hard to escape my impoverished background, only to be lured into their mansion under the guise of a scholarship and subjected to their twisted games. He then showed the camera the bruises and marks on his body. These are from their proclivities, he sobbed. They were too afraid to hurt Ethan, so they took it all out on me. I watched the spectacle with cold detachment as the crowd and the online viewers erupted in a chorus of condemnation against me and my sisters. Listening to his twisted lies, I clenched my fists in rage. Khloe put a reassuring arm around my shoulders. Ethan, let me handle this. She calmed me down and was about to confront him, but he saw us first. Everyone, look, he shouted. Over there. That's Ethan Sterling. The monster himself. In an instant, all eyes were on us. A few people from the crowd even started to move toward me. Khloe sent the first one flying with a swift kick. Her face, usually so composed, was now a mask of cold fury. "I'd like to see anyone else try," she said, her voice dangerously low. Just then, my grandfather emerged from the building with a team of security guards who quickly formed a protective circle around me. Caleb pointed at my grandfather. "And there he is, the richest man in LA. He's no better than the rest of them. He's the one who arranged for his grandson to have 4 child brides. How depraved do you have to be to worry that your grandson won't have enough women to satisfy his lust?" I couldn't take it anymore. "Caleb, that's enough," I roared. "You can say whatever you want about me, but you leave my grandfather out of this." Caleb just laughed. "What's the matter? Did I strike a nerve, little princeling? If the old man thinks 4 women aren't enough for his precious grandson, maybe he should offer himself up." At his vile words, my grandfather clutched his chest. I cried out, the dread that had been building in my chest finally cresting. In my last life, he had died of a sudden heart attack. I ignored Caleb and immediately had my grandfather rushed to the hospital. I didn't relax until the doctors confirmed he was stable. Based on what had just happened, I was now certain that Caleb had been responsible for my grandfather's heart attack in my past life as well. This time, I would not let him get away with it. I logged on to my official Twitter account and posted every single document proving my financial support of Caleb. A moment later, I received a message from him. "Ethan Sterling, don't think this will save you. I'm gonna ruin all of you. None of you will get away with this." Seeing the skeptical comments under my tweet, I wasn't worried. None of them knew that on the very first day of my new life, I had installed hidden cameras throughout the mansion. I had installed them to protect myself, but I had become so disillusioned that I had never even looked at the footage. But now it was time. I edited together the footage of Caleb framing me, of him admitting to drugging me at the hospital, and of him using the aphrodisiac incense to seduce my sisters after I had left, and I posted it all on Twitter. The internet exploded. Public opinion shifted in an instant. "Holy crap, this is insane. He really asked for it and he got it. It's like a real-life version of the scorpion and the frog." And then I called the police. Caleb was convicted of defamation and extortion. My 4 sisters were convicted of kidnapping and assault. What I had failed to do in my past life was finally accomplished. All the villains had been punished. In this life, my grandfather was healthy and safe, and I had Khloe by my side. I was happy.